Hi, my name is Avinia. This is Peter. Welcome to Games Made Easy, a channel where we learn board games quickly and easily. Today, I want to teach you and give you tips on how to play the Quacks of Quedlinburg, a game where you never quite know what is brewing. What I love about this game is how it changes with every game because the components change and even the variant that you prefer. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot. In Quacks of Quedlinburg, you play a quack trying to peddle your potions in the great market of Quedlinburg. Your potions become more and more valuable as you add more ingredients in them. But if you're not careful, they can explode in your face. So there is a fine balance between greed and safety to win the game. At the end of 9 rounds, the player with the most points wins the game. To set up the game, start by placing the tracking board in the middle of the table. This board lets you track the points, but also the number of rounds and what's specific about each round. Each player picks a color and then takes the board with all the components. 1 pot, which will be used to make the potions. 1 droplet, which you place on the 0 in the middle of your pot. You'll place the other droplet at the beginning of the track for the more advanced game variation, but for now we will play with the other side and we only use 1 droplet. Place 1 flask here to get extra help, 1 rat disc which you place here. Also take 1 ruby from the supply and place it here. Place the 0 seal and a disc on the scoring track here. Then take the ingredients you will need to start making the potions. They're indicated here at the bottom of the board. For now, take 1 green token, 1 orange, as well as 4 1 whites, 2 whites, and 1 3 white tokens, and place them in your bag. Separate the ingredient chips and books according to their color and place them in the middle of the table for easy access. Select what the ingredients will do by selecting the ingredient books for this game. At first, it's best to follow the number of players indicated here. Once you've played more games, it's fun to let the players choose the ingredients they want to play with. Keep the yellow and purple books to the side. The yellow ingredients are introduced in the 2nd round and the purple from the 3rd round onwards. Now, place the bonus die near the board with a supply of rubies and place the yellow flame on the 1 turn indicator. You are ready to start. Either pick the player who last cooked or randomly pick a player. It doesn't really matter that much because players play at the same time in Quacks. This player will be reading 1 fortune teller card at the beginning of this turn. Reveal the top card of the deck and follow the instructions. If it's a purple card, it is carried out before the turn starts. If it is a blue card, it applies for the whole turn or at the end of the turn. If the card tells players to draw a purple or yellow chip, they can only do so if the corresponding book is already uncovered. Now it's time to explain how players prepare their potion. Each player does it at the same time, but they don't have to draw the chips simultaneously. To prepare potions, draw 1 chip blindly from your bag. You're never allowed to look into your bag. Place the ingredient on your pot depending on the value of the ingredient. If it's a 1, place it here. A 2, you count 2 and place it here. And a 3, you count 3 from the droplet and place it here. For subsequent drawn chips, like this value 2 chip, place it after previously laid chips according to its value. So we would move 1, 2, and this empty space in between will remain empty. If you reach or pass the end of the track, leave your last chip on the 33. The chips not only fill your pot, but they can give you additional actions. They are divided into 3 broad types. The white and orange chips, which provide only the value on the chip to move. Then the blue, red, and yellow have a special action that activates as soon as the chips are drawn. These vary depending on the number of players. You're also allowed to pass up on these special actions if you choose to. Finally, the green, purple, and black chips can be applied at the end of the potion phase when we score. Have a look at the rules for the description on what each book does because some of them are really cool. Let's have a look now at the flasks. This lets you cancel 1 ingredient you may not want in your pot. The game starts with the flask full. If you draw a white chip, you may decide to put it back in the bag by using the flask. Once you've used the flask, simply flip it to its empty side. Note that if that chip causes your pot to go above 7 white, it explodes and you can no longer use the flask. After each ingredient is placed, you decide whether to continue or stop. You can look at what other players are doing before you decide. Usually, you stop when you're scared your pot is going to explode, which we're going to look at now. Your pot usually explodes as soon as you place 8 or more cherry bombs in your pot. These are the white chips. The player places that last chip but must stop adding ingredients for this round. Players that have stopped lay their bags in front of them on the table so it's clear who is still actively drawing chips. Once all players have stopped drawing chips, either willingly or because their pot has exploded, we start the evaluation phase. Have a look at this banner here to see the individual steps of the evaluation phase. The first stage is to roll the bonus die. The player with the highest pot rolls this turn. Each player's respective scoring space is the space directly after the last chip placed on their pot. In case of a tie, these players roll. Players whose pot exploded cannot roll the die. The die can give you different rewards. They are all pretty good. 1 victory point, 2 victory points, 1 free orange chip, 1 ruby, or finally move the droplet 1 space forward, either on the middle of your pot or on the track if you play that variation. The second stage of the evaluation is the chip actions. All players compare and score their black chips. They also score their purple chips and relevant green chips. Have a look at the ingredient book card to see the effect of these chips depending on the number of players. In the next phase, the players who stop just before a ruby can collect one from the supply. When you see this sign, collect the ruby. It doesn't matter if the pot exploded or not. For the next phase, the players whose pot exploded have a decision to make. They're either going to score victory points or they're going to buy some chips. For those whose pot did not explode, they can do both, victory points and get some chips. To score, beginning with the starting player, each player scores the points shown on the pot just after their last ingredient. Move the marker along the scoring track accordingly. Also, if you've reached the last spot, you get to roll the bonus die if your pot didn't explode. Now, you will also get 35 coins to go and get some chips. Let's have a look at this fun phase on what new chips you can get. Beginning with the starting player, you can buy 1 or 2 chips of different colors. The cost of the ingredients is indicated on each book, getting progressively more expensive from left to right for the 1, 2, or 4 chips. If there is only 1 number shown, that means there is only 1 level of chip for this ingredient. So with my 9 points, I am going to buy 1 of these and 1 of these. You pay more for higher value chips because they let you move forward more spaces in your pot. Also, these 2 blue books and this green book give you more power depending on the value of the chip. Also, the number of chips is limited. Once an ingredient runs out, you may not purchase it anymore. Once the shopping is done, all the players put their purchased chips in the bag along with all the ingredients they used during that turn. That marks the end of the turn. In this phase, players can discard 2 rubies to move the droplet 1 space forward to fill the pot faster in the coming rounds, or to take immediate bonuses if you play with a variation. You may also refill the flask for 2 rubies. Just turn the flask over and it's ready to use again. You can spend as many rubies as you want. Now, you pass the deck of fortune cards to the player on your left. That player will be the starting player next turn. Now start the next turn by moving the yellow flame to the next space and take the indicated action. At the beginning of turn 2, lay out the yellow ingredient book. At the start of turn 3, lay out the purple ingredient book. These will remain in play for the rest of the game. At the start of turn 6, each player has to put 1 more white 1 chip into their bag. Now it's time to explain the rat's tails as they come into play from the second round onwards. I'll explain how they make your potion a little fuller before you start preparing the potion. Rat's tails are shown on the scoring track. Each player counts the number of rat's tails, separating them from the player in the lead. So here it's 3. Add this number to your potion's starting point. Starting from the droplet disc, moving the rat stone forward the number of tails. This means that instead of placing your first ingredient at 2, you would start here at 5. Once all the players have moved their rat stones, they can start preparing the potions like for the first round. That goes on until turn 9. At that time, there's a big difference because all the players must draw the ingredients at the same time when the starting player gives the command stir. This simultaneous action continues until everyone has passed or exploded. This is a rule that you can apply to the first 8 turns, but in my opinion, it's better left just for the 9th turn. At the end of the 9th turn, you can decide to buy a victory point with either 5 coins or 2 rubies. You can repeat this as often as you have rubies. The player who has the most points will win the game. In case of a tie, it will be the player with the best pot in the last turn who wins, and if they still tie, they can both claim to be the biggest quacks in Quedlinburg. Well, my tips to win at Quacks of Quedlinburg are, so if you have the opportunity to stop to get a ruby, stop there. It's a good idea at the beginning of the game to get maybe 2 smaller ingredients than getting just 1 big one. It's important to maximize the opportunities you get from the fortune teller cards. Some red and orange strategies or blue strategies can work well in this game. You just need to make sure to commit to one and buy a lot of those chips. In some games, it's a good idea to collect rubies and turn them into points at the end of the game. So that's how you play Quacks of Quedlinburg. It's a super fun game for beginners and experienced players. There's a lot of expansions out there, which I might cover in another video. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the video description. We'll make more games easy soon. Bye now.